Welcome back, Eagle fans. Welcome to this week's edition of the Mike Fuller Show. We're coming off the Eagles' victory of a score of 56-27 over the Bridgeport Bulls. Coach, you are 1-0 in the big Battle of the Big Sandy rivalry, and you are 1-0 in getting that helicopter on the Eagle in the stadium. How do you feel?
I feel great. Yeah, it was an exciting week. There's nothing like playing a big rivalry game. I think I shared last week, and with anybody that would listen, I was super excited and fired up to be a part of a rivalry dating back that far for the 95th time the two teams have met. And it was just a special night. I couldn't have asked for more from our kids. Our kids prepared well all week, had a great week of practice, and it showed on Friday night because they played great.
So did the delivery of the game ball, did that all happen just like clockwork?
That was just like clockwork. Really started on Wednesday, kind of wondering, hey, I hear a lot about this helicopter. How does that work out? And started asking people, and nobody knew. There wasn't a person here that works for Decatur ISD that had any idea how it got set up. We called the hospital, called different people, and nobody really knew. When Virginia Caraway said she didn't know, I knew we were in trouble. Thursday, we got in touch with Coach Story and asked him maybe how it worked, and he didn't know. He just said no. They just called on Friday and asked us to deliver the football to him. So Coach Escobar and I rolled up to the hospital about 1:30 on Friday with a football and found out where the flight crew, I guess they lived. They would stay there when they were on duty. Knocked on the door, they weren't there. We left the ball on the board basically with a note to call us, and we got in touch. Finally, I talked to the pilot at about 5 o'clock on Friday night, and he said, "Now you want me to do what?" But I think he had heard it's a new flight crew. Hadn't been here in the past, so they weren't, didn't really know that it was something that had taken place. And I was just worried that being the new guy, I was going to be the jerk that didn't let us have the helicopter at the football game. So I was thankful that they called us. My son answered the phone and said, "You need to talk to this guy." They were great. He said, "We'll be there between 7:28 and 7:30 if we don't have an emergency." So it all worked out like it's supposed to, and we had a ball to play with.
It was nice to see the helicopter as the national anthem was concluding.
Yes.
Coming over the south end zone.
Yes. Because how can you play a game without a helicopter?
Not this game.
Yeah, not this.
Absolutely game. Not. Apparently. Well, the game. I just want to talk to you a little bit about it. The Eagles won it pretty handily. It was a good way to win a game. I think that was the first one that we really had it under control toward the end. And is there any particular point in that game that you think was a turning point, that was a moment in time when we just finally pushed the ball over the hump of just taking control?
I would say the third quarter. We went in 28-20 at half. It really should not have been that close. We had a couple of little miscues. We number 7 for them, tremendous player. It was difficult for us to cover. We had a miscommunication on a punt. We called for a punt, and almost everybody ran punt, but we handed it off and looked silly, giving them the ball in really good field position for one of their touchdowns. And then another time we just kicked it to a spot where we didn't really want to kick to, which was right to number 7. And all week the mantra was, if you kick to 7, he's going to score. But Jorge and I had a good laugh about that this week. Not so much on Friday, but that was the reason it was close. We felt like at halftime coming in that we didn't think they could stop us anymore. We had found a few things that we could execute fairly well. And then we came out. I think the most important drive of the game was when we started off the third quarter. We just went right down and scored, and then we got a stop, and we had 21 points there in the third quarter, which pretty much iced it.
Any particular players stick out in your mind as having extraordinary games?
Well, we had a lot of really good games. Gunnar Parker stands out. Third play of the ball game, he catches a slant. We'd run that play all year, but we don't throw it outside to the outside receiver. But that's our read. If the safety comes down, the safety came down, and Justin made a good throw, and he made a good catch and scored a 50-yard touchdown. And he had another big touchdown for us and a big run. So I was really proud to see him have a breakout game. Eddie Martinez has always been a huge factor in our two-back stuff, but the game he had the other night was really special. He did a great job of blocking and catching balls out of the backfield. I think he had 7 catches and had some big first down runs for us. So I was really proud of him and the leadership that he showed. Defensively, we had a lot of guys that stepped up. Cole Vaughn had a real nice game statistically. Had an interception. Jacob Kvetter did a good job of getting after the quarterback. We sent him on quite a few blitzes, and he played their bubble screens really well. But it's really overall a team effort. But if one did stand out, I'd have to say it's Justin Myers. He had a game that you just kind of dream about at times. He had over 250 yards passing. He had over 200 yards rushing. I don't remember how many touchdowns he had, but because it's in the past. But he had a great game. He had a magical night, and he did a great job of directing the offense and leading the offense, and he was really tough for Bridgeport to stop.
Well, Coach, not only did you get the game ball via helicopter onto the Eagle before the game, and not only did you defeat the Bulls handily, but the Bulls left Decatur during the week of the Battle of the Big Sandy 0 for 6. From 7th grade all the way to varsity. Skunked them. That's not a bad way to start off your tenure as head coach here.
Man, it was a great week. It was a fun week of football. On Thursday, we played all of our JV freshman varsity games all in one night. Our freshmen played a different team. They went to play Sanger, played 2 games there, but we 7th grade B, 7th grade A, 8th grade B, 8th grade A, and our JV all won on Thursday night. So that's a really good feeling when everybody comes, every kid that goes somewhere to play a game comes back happy and excited about it. So that just kind of led up to Friday. So it was a great week for Decatur and a great week to shine like that in the battles of the Big Sandy.
Awesome. This week we're off, and I think probably a welcomed week off. We got some people that are banged up and let a few kids heal to get ready for our first district game against Burke-Burnett. Just give us kind of a, we're I guess 3-2, and a mid-season State of the Union address on how you think we've done up to this point.
Well, first of all, I think it's a big misnomer to call this an off week. Not throwing you under the bus.
I've been under the bus before. No worries.
Don't want our coaches or players to think of this as an off week. It's just a week where we don't have a game. We've got to get better this week. We've got to win the open week. We have really focused on. We're going to have 3 really good practices this week, focusing on fundamentals and getting back to, as position coaches, getting back to being able to spend more time on the things that you really need to fix technique-wise. So that's the focus this week, and healing up. And it is nice, and it's really good that we don't have a game this week because we did get some guys banged up, and we've got to get healed up. But 3-2. Obviously, if you ask me at any point, what would you like your record to be halfway through the season? Well, 5-0. Always. We'd like to win them all, but. You can do that if you schedule. It's easy to do that if you schedule teams that don't challenge you. But we played a tough schedule. Played some really good football teams. Our non-district schedule, the way I've looked at it in the past, it's really not our record during that time is not really that important. The important thing is that we're getting better. I feel like we've gotten better every week. We've played some good teams that have challenged us, and the 2 teams that beat us, we certainly had every chance to beat them and know that we can beat those kind of teams down the road. But halfway through the season, I think I'd like to be a little more healthy than what we are, but I do feel good about where we stand going into district. We've got a tough road ahead of us with the teams that we have, but we're gonna be focusing all of our attention on Burke-Burnett and getting ready for them. We'll start kind of introducing them to the players tomorrow, and then have a whole week to put that game plan in.
Well, we'll talk about Burke-Burnett in our show next week, and we'll put that off. But there's some people around town that have some questions for you.
Okay.
So it's that time. It's time for the around town question for Coach Fuller. This week it comes from a fellow named Poe at Pizza Hut.
Hey, Coach Fuller, I've always wanted to ask this to someone who knows about football. I don't really watch it all that much, but I've always wondered. You always see the quarterback as being the star of the team, the face of the team. But I'm wondering which position we could have a really skilled player in would have the biggest impact on the team's performance overall.
Poe, that's a really good question, and I've never really thought about it exactly like that. But I guess the way I would look at it is really, you know, I've seen receivers completely take over a football game before. I've seen running backs take over a football game and just dominate. I've even seen it happen from a defensive lineman who's unblockable. There was a defensive lineman at Denton Ryan several years ago who could take over and dominate a game and will his team to victory. I've seen running backs. So you know, I guess if you're asking me which one I would pick to have do that, I would pick a really skilled, versatile player who could play running back and anything else he wanted on offense, and be a great defensive player, somebody that could really dominate a game. But that's just so tough to nail down. I would say probably most people would say running back because they can get the ball. They're standing closest to the quarterback and can get the ball the most to impact the game. But you know, really, whatever your players can do, whatever your best player can do, you want to accentuate that and figure out ways to get him the ball, or if he's a lineman to run behind him and use his skills to the best of your ability. So I hope that answered your question, and I thank you for coming up with a thoughtful question like that.
Well, today's special guest is Coach Ty Lang. Coach, how are you doing?
Good, how's it going?
Going good, it's going good. Hey, just tell everybody what you coach and kind of give them a little history about where you came from and your background and experience.
Yeah, you bet. I coach wide receivers. Here's my first year at Decatur. This is my 10th year coaching high school. I was with Bob Shipley, a former compadre of yours for 8 years. I was with him at several different spots.
He's not very funny.
He's not funny. He's pretty funny. He's pretty funny. He's not as funny as his wife, but he's pretty funny. And then I was with Coach Fuller at Colleyville Heritage last year. So he got rooked or something into hiring me, so it's a good deal.
So how long were you with Mike at Colleyville?
1 year at Colleyville, and then obviously here this year at Decatur.
So how's Decatur treating you so
Awesome.
far?
Love it. Love the small town feel. I tell you, the fans at the Battle of Big Sandy last week were unbelievable. It was awesome. It's good to be back when football's a huge deal. It was big in Colleyville, but there's a bunch of people around there too that didn't come to football games, but it was fun. We had a blast last week. I'm sure y'all did too.
Well, tell me, I know you coach receivers. You also coach special teams. Is that something that you've done before?
I have not coached special teams before as a parent on a few of our snafus that we've had in the past few weeks. We're still working. Mike's been gracious to let me take that over a little bit, and he's been helping me. We're in here and he's drawing stuff up, what he wants to do, and it's fun. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning something new every day with it and having a good time with it. We're going to get better at it. We're going to get better at it.
Sure. Coach, since I've known you for a while, from the days in Coppell, I know that you've coached some kids that have had a lot of success in high school and have gone on to play at major levels in college. Talk about those kids, specifically Jackson and Cam.
Yeah.
And what you think you saw in them, aside from their athletic ability that got them to where they are today.
Right. Well, obviously I've been blessed. Those are two that I just happen to be their coach. I learned more from them than they ever learned from me. But coaching Cam, I was Cam's running backs coach his sophomore year there at Coppell. And then when we moved to Brownwood, I was Jackson's receivers coach his junior and senior year. And those guys brought a work ethic to the table that is second to none. I tell people all the time, I never saw Jackson Shipley lose a sprint in practice, ever. I was with him at 7th grader on up, and that guy, when he went, he competed. Cam was the same way. Everything that they did mattered, and the team bought into it. The team bought into who those guys were, and I think because those guys worked so hard, everybody else's play elevated to their level. And obviously we know Cam, I wasn't there at Coppell, but Cam went on to have a really successful senior year, obviously getting beat by Trinity on the last set. I mean, they had a great game, had a chance to go win a state title. Jackson senior year, we had a chance to go win a state title there in Brownwood. It was a fun group. To be able to say that I coached those guys is just a tremendous blessing. I did nothing for them. but made sure they got to the game. It's kind of one of those deals. So.
I thought it was special drills that you had them run that you were going to
Well,
have
besides
these kids run
that,
and-
okay. Besides teaching them everything they knew, I had nothing to do with it.
And for those
so.
who don't know, Jackson Shipley starts at wide receiver for the University of Texas, and Cam is Cam McDaniel, who's a starting tailback at the University of Notre Dame. And all credit goes to Thailand.
Yeah, not. Cut. It's over. No, I'm just kidding.
Now, well, Coach, before we cut you loose, just tell us a little bit about your family, and I know you got a wife and a daughter, and how are they liking Decatur?
Awesome, loving it. My wife actually teaches and coaches at Decatur High School. She's in the social studies department, and she'll be helping Coach Campbell with girls soccer, so she's really excited about that. She loves it here. Our daughter Hattie just turned 2 in July. She goes to Pettit private school over there, kind of by Lowe's. I'm kind of getting my by Lowe's, which way is Lowe's, I don't know, but somewhere over there. They love it. We're getting ready to build a house. We're going to build a house here, and hopefully it'll be done sometime between Christmas and Valentine's Day. So we got a nice little window in there, and no, it's going to be good. We're
Well,
excited.
awesome. I'm glad that you're here and I'm here.
Thank you. Man, I'm glad you're here too, man. It's good to
See
be
ya.
with you.
Well, Coach, the time has come in this episode to remember when. Now,
Awesome.
you have a young man, a son, Roman, right?
Yes.
He rides the bus.
He rides the bus.
Well-
sometimes.
David Miner is going to tell us a story about what he remembers when in Decatur football that involves the coach's son.
Cool. My most memorable moment,
Say your name.
David Miner, memorable moment, Decatur High School football. Wow, there's a lot of them, but one that catches my eye is 87. We're headed up to Breckenridge to play Breckenridge in the district ball game. And halfway through this journey, our coach's son, I won't name any names, decides to use the restroom in his britches. Therefore, it catches wind through the bus, and we have to evacuate the bus at the nearest roadside park. Needless to say, Coach gets off, cleans him up. My bunk mate was Vondrick Jackson. We're headed down the road. At first, he thought it was me, and of course, I told him it wasn't me. I'm not that nervous. Coach got out and washed him down, cleaned him up, and we went on our way. We're 30 minutes late, and we lost by 17. Hell of a day.
That's the way it goes.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man.
You bet.
Coach, do you have a contingency plan if the some kind of smell sneaks onto the bus?
Well, we don't have an official school board policy or anything for that. Wow, that's never happened to me. My son goes to a lot of our games, rides on the bus for the out-of-town games. He's on the sideline as a ball boy. But he's a 7th grader. It's never happened to him, but I can only imagine. I did years ago have going to play a big district ball game when I was at Colleyville Heritage, and our starting quarterback was feeling a little queasy. He just happened to be on the row in the bus that has the window that won't come all the way down.
Ooh.
And he tried to puke out the window, and he puked on the window. It didn't take long for that smell to fill up the bus and start just a small version of the Barfarama scene from Stand By Me. The good thing about it, besides throwing his mom under the bus for eating something bad that she made him as a pregame meal, he's due for about 490 yards that night, and we won the game.
There you go.
Once we got him a cleaned up jersey, everything was fine. I really hope I don't have to deal with that particular problem that you told about, Mr. Miner.
Me too. Well, that's a wrap for this week's edition of the Mike Fuller Show. Remember, Eagle fans, no game this Friday. Next Friday, the Eagles will be playing Burke Burnett in the first district game of the 2014 season. So get ready, get rested like the Eagles are doing, and get ready for that game against Burke Burnett. And stay tuned as we close out for the featured player this week. All right, here for the second time this season as the featured player of the week, Justin Myers. Justin, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Man, you had a heck of a game. I think over 250 yards passing and over 200 yards rushing. Have you ever had a game like that before?
No, sir. I'll give you that.
Does it mean a lot to you that it happened your senior year in the Battle of the Big Sandy?
Yes, sir. It does.
Awesome.
I wanted to kill him, and we did.
All right, well, your game was awesome, man. But what I want to ask you about is, we're out here on the field where you performed last Friday night. There's several hundred kids here in the stands for an event called Fields of Faith.
Tell everybody what Fields of Faith is.
Well, Fields of Faith is just a fellowship of Christian athletes organized event, and what it is just the kids, the schools of Wise County just kind of come together. They get a speaker, they get a band, and we all just kind of come together and just worship God and learn more about God all at the same time.
Well, I haven't been here long. A couple of months I've lived in Decatur, and it's already become apparent to me that your faith is important to you. And we talked a little bit before we got on camera about a mission trip that you were on this past summer. Just tell everybody a little bit about what you did and what your experience was like.
I had the opportunity to go to Spain for a week this summer, and it was an amazing event, and where I learned a lot about prayer and how God really answers those prayers and how God really knows the desires of your heart. I hope you don't mind, I can share a real quick story.
Love to.
At the end of the day, every day we'd go, our little group of 10 people would go to this park, to a park, and sort of debrief the day, talk about what we'd learned that day, who we talked to, anything that happened, you know. And I kind of interrupted that, and I was like, man, I have not thrown a football in like a week. And they all kind of joked about it, we laughed about it a little bit. But right when I said that, American football is not popular here. Right when I said that, an American football comes flying over the fence and lands right next to us, and I get to throw a football for the first time in like a week.
Like some kids were playing?
Something, I don't know, it came over a fence. It's like God knew the desire of my heart. He was like, here you go, bud. I know you want to be here, but I know you also miss football a little bit. Chunky. It was cool.
That's awesome, man. We love watching you play on Friday night, but to hear a story like that means more. So we really do appreciate you, man.